Outstanding. Good afternoon. This is the Finance Committee for the Georgetown Divide Public Utility District regular meeting of Thursday, January 25th, 2024. I would like to call that meeting to order and ask if our board member, if our committee member, Martha Halleck, would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to get us started.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, that takes us to item number 2, which is adoption of agenda, and I'd like to throw this out for consideration of the committee. I do have a hard
Chairman, can we do a roll call just to make sure we know who's in the room?
Oh, look at that. There's roll call. Part of number 1, and I went right over it. Let's do a roll call.
One thing, just for the committee's edification, but also the public, we are streaming on live on YouTube. So we are trying a new way to get the message out to the public, and it will be saved on YouTube in perpetuity. So just remember, everything that we say is a forever thing. But it's also going to allow us to have another source to get a hold of these videos in the future.
If we get over 1 million hits, do we start generating revenue for the district? That would tell a friend, right?
I'll start
Influencers. Yeah.
I'll start dancing in the middle here. Yeah, that's right. Steve's gonna juggle, so.
All right, roll call. You can take the roll call.
Member Miller,
Here.
Secretary Halleck
here.
Vice Chair Gornitz,
Here.
and Chair Fisher,
Here.
Liaison Stovall,
Present.
and Liaison McDonald.
All right, that's roll calls, onto agenda, and before we do approve, I'm gonna ask the committee to consider moving the action items number 6 above the informational items number 5. And by way of explanation, was probably a good time for explanation of who we are and what we do, as we are on YouTube. This committee is purely volunteer. Some of us are working, some of us are retired. We have different walks of life, but we are ratepayers, the same as everybody that we serve. We make no money. We have to take time off work to be here. And I do happen to have a hard stop today that I need to get back to my other part of life at about 5 minutes to 4. So that leaves us about a 55-minute meeting. We're going to try to be thrifty with time today. So I would ask, because one of the key things we need to do is the action items. Make sure that those have plenty of time for consideration if those would move above number 5. With that, I can entertain a motion.
Move action item number 6 above action item number 5, or informational items number 5.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Amended agenda is approved. And that takes us to the public forum. The folks that are here are pretty familiar faces. Anybody that wants to speak, whether on Zoom or here, has an opportunity. We would ask that you keep comments to 3 minutes or less. And with that, I'll open it up to the floor. Let's anybody present in person. We'll give those folks the chance first, then go online.
I might as well say something. Stephen Dowd. We had a big main break right down here 2 days ago. They fall on a tree. They topped the tree, and there was a pipe under there. I've been here 50 years and I never knew that pipe was there. You know it. And that thing smashed that pipe, and wow, it was bad. So they fixed it. We got fixed it. And I even seen Adam out there. Adam was out there. I talked to him, and that was good though. But I don't know how much water we lost.
We can get you a number, but it's less than you might think.
And they're being billed for the water use.
Oh, good.
The water loss and the repairs.
I was gonna, so good. Yeah, they didn't know it was there. They were just doing their job, and
Fortunately, it comes to the territory. Sometimes there's things that happen.
little hidden things under the ground.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
All right, anybody online have any public comments?
I have a question.
Sheree, go ahead.
Did we just switch 5 and 6? Is that what you just did?
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Do I see any other? Oh, I do see a hand up. Okay.
Yeah, that's her. That was her. Sorry.
That was Sheree. Okay.
Making our bandwidth lag, so things aren't
Okay. So then I see no other public comments.
No, nobody else.
That's not an active hand up there?
I believe that's still Sheree. So I think she said what she was gonna say and no more hands.
Okay. Then moving on to item number 4, approval of minutes. Anybody want to have any comments before we entertain a motion of the minutes from December 7th? Hearing none. Anybody want a motion approval of minutes from December 7th?
I motion to approve.
Second?
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the motion passes. We are now moving into our amended number 6 item, which is action items, and I'll turn it over to our general manager, Nick Schneider.
Yeah, thank you very much. This item here is an item that came up at our last board meeting. And it is something that I was made aware of that we had in this program by some staff members here, that we offer loans to help with septic tank installation and repair within the Auburn Lake Trails area. Upon legal review of this item, it was discriminatory towards CDS customers only, and it did not include the non-CDS customers. And our legal department did not think that that was something that was fair or equitable for the community, since the money ultimately comes from the same fund. What was done was we approved the loan for the person who applied. However, the board recommended to the finance committee to review a few portions of this program. If we're going to bring this back for all homeowners within Auburn Lake Trails, we wanted to have a couple of items that were a little bit more solid as to how we got repaid. So first off is the hardship portion of this, and what would actually qualify as somebody who needs a hardship. So we have a few different metrics that we are including, and we can include one or all, but we would like to have those reviewed by the committee. And then the second portion of this is, it's sort of a lien mechanism. Many of you, if you have work done on your home, you get what's referred to as a mechanic's lien by your contractor, and that is where they put a document upon your home. If you decide not to pay them, then they get to collect money when your home is sold or before that. We have done some research. These loans are recorded with the county, much like in the same process. It's a little bit different process because we're a public entity. And then I may say this wrong, so I'm gonna just look at my office manager and water resource manager and say, they have 5 years to pay this loan off. The first year is interest free. After the second year, they get a 7% APR on this loan. And after 5 years, they are sent to tax lien. So if they can get up to $10,000, they pay off what they can pay off in the first year. What the balance is occurs at 7% interest. Anything beyond the 5 years goes to tax lien and is billed to these homeowners as part of their taxes. So we can continue to move along and look at some of the hardship metrics, or I can take a few questions before we get there.
How many hookups are there to the community wastewater system, roughly?
Community disposal system
Yeah.
or non, 137 approximately.
Okay.
And it's 1,036 total?
1,038.
So community and non-community, 1,038,
Correct,
all within Auburn Lake Trails.
correct.
Okay.
And those would be the only people who would have access to this. So this would not have, we would not open this up to any other homeowners within the district that also have septic tanks. It's just, it's not feasible. This is strictly following zone or
Waste district.
no, Fund 200. I was trying to go, the Fund 200 money. That's, so it strictly follows that Fund 200, not any of the water. We can't take it and give any money outside of ALT. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, I thought you were looking for the comment name.
Hold
So
on.
we'll get to public comments just a moment.
Let me just make sure I got the numbers right. 137 are community district connections,
Correct,
but the total is 1,038.
correct.
The
Okay, so
rest
you.
are on-site wastewater.
Yeah, so you're about 80%, 90% of these people, give or take, 85% are non-community.
Correct,
And they're eligible now for these loans.
correct.
And how many loans? It's been going on since 2006, but how many loans have been made?
I don't know, we do have a previous Excel spreadsheet, but the program started some years ago. They did maybe like 5 a year on average, and then it stopped. So then I think the district changed how they caught these leaking tanks and failing systems to only during the escrow inspections. And so now that's kind of how we've been doing it until this just re-arose. So I can get that number, but I don't know it off the top of my head.
Okay.
And just to make the committee aware, this has been a net benefit for the district, so this wouldn't cost us anything. All it would have to do is we would have to rebudget for the potential of offering these loans. And then, so that would be the only hardship that the district may face.
And I see it's also based on whether money's available.
Correct, yes.
And I was just wondering, what's the default rate? Do you have a default rate?
So they can't
So they're going to
technically
tax.
default.
Well, then going to tax, I guess, going to.
So we haven't done these for years, and we'd have to do some serious research
There's a
on.
whole Excel that's got all of it on there.
Yeah, but the last time we offered one of these was like 5 years ago. Yeah, 5-6 years ago was the last time this was even considered.
We looked at one, I think, in the first year or 5 years or something, I think there was only 2 that went to tax lien that we saw. But it's been also kind of hard to find previous documents because they're in folders everywhere. And so I'm trying to track them down, but the stuff that I have found, it's old.
And the fund there was a designated fund, and I believe it was 211, which is within the zone. So it's a CM&O fund, and it had about $46,000 in it, which was allocated to this program. And that's just interest that's coming off of the rest of the accounts. A lot of our interest that we accrue is spread evenly throughout, or there's a percentage that's spread through the funds. The general interest.
I'll tell you why I'm asking these questions is because when you put these kind of programs in, there are typically people that request expansions of these programs. And I'm just trying to wrap my head around how deep you want to go into these kinds of programs.
It does say in the paperwork that it's a first come, first served basis based on funds available.
Right.
There's not much we could expand from here, and I understand what your concern is. There is not much more we could offer.
Well, and then it's based off of the hardship, which we'll get to in a minute, and then also at the end of the day, the way it's written is like we at the district get to decide who gets to do it. So it's not just anybody
Understand.
and everybody.
Right.
And then, yeah, the funding obviously is gonna be a huge part of it. And as of right now, we really only have one person, and it's based off of the system failing also, which is a huge deal, and we don't have any other systems failing. We catch those during those annual inspections. So it's a pretty pinholed section of this public that we're gonna be offering it to.
So I guess just for the uninitiated public, what all is this? So Auburn Lake Trails has the highest concentration of septic systems probably on the divide. It's regulated by the water board, right? And is that part of why we get involved with their systems more than anybody else on the divide? Or what gets us involved in ALT?
Well, because we have a WDR permit that has been issued by the state, so that we are the county. We are the overall umbrella agency for wastewater in ALT, and it adds a layer of us having to do things that not other wastewater agencies have to do.
So under that permit, you are obligated to inspect. So you'd show up at somebody's house, you do the periodic inspection, you come up and say, I have good news and bad news. The bad news is we found something of significant cost you need to repair. The good news is we're able to offer you a low interest loan to repair it. Is
Yeah,
that-
if you qualify,
If you qualify.
you'd have to qualify, but yes, ultimately.
Okay. Okay.
So, much like, if you have PG&E rates, you can qualify for the CARE program. So if you would qualify for the CARE program, that could be one of the metrics to qualify for this loan. You could also, our LIRA program also utilizes the CARE program. So that would be, if you are already on our LIRA program, that would help you qualify. There are some other ones that we identified. If you go to page
Attachment 2.
It's attachment to, yes. So, there is a, LEWAP, metric for monthly. Is that pronounced correctly?
I'll have to add that.
It's LIWA,
Li-
LIWA.
Those are metrics that the county uses, so the LIWAP program is something that can be utilized by homeowners within, actually not homeowners, with water users within El Dorado County to help pay their water bills. So this program, we receive checks periodically from them to pay for specific participants' bills. So this is a metric we can consider. If you continue to scroll, you have Covered California and Medi-Cal program qualifications. And so you have some a graph on the bottom, which would be acutely low, extremely low, very low, low income, median income, and moderate income levels. And you could pick a level within there that we could also, and this isn't one or done. We could have multiple different hardship metrics, because it probably would be advantageous to have more than just one that we have, because some people may not want to qualify for some of these, for whatever reason. If we continue to move forward, this is what is a disadvantaged community. So now a disadvantaged community is a state designated metric. You can see MHI, which for the uninitiated is median household income. And that would be basically what they denote as the poverty level for California. So anything below that median household income is considered, impoverished or low income. So those are the ones that we identified as a district. We'd be more than open to considerations of others that you'd like us to look into. I would like to open it up at this point to the committee to kind of make comments or, make recommendations. This is all gonna go back to the board at the next, board meeting to, have them choose which one of these that they would like as well. So I think a recommendation from that finance committee would be helpful.
How would disadvantaged community apply? Because there aren't any, are there, around?
Georgetown is considered a disadvantaged community. Unfortunately, Poole is not.
Right.
So, if someone who is living within, ALT and had an income that was below this, that would be something where they would qualify.
But on a community-wide metric, it'd be kind of irrelevant for what you're trying to do.
We're just looking at the income level.
I got you, yeah.
Did you have a question?
No.
Oh.
I see a hand
Yes.
raised.
There's no more committee comments. We can come back to the committee, but yeah, you've had your hand up for quite a while, Steve.
Yes, I was wondering, we had an overpayment on the Auburn Lake treatment plant stuff, and we were supposed to be reimbursing the people back. I don't know how that's working, but can they just take the funds for the loans out of that fund?
So we have
That's $1.5 million.
it's not that much anymore. We have been crediting those customers back in ALT. Ultimately, this funding would come out of the reserve account and then it would be paid back into the reserve account. So that it's the same idea.
So we're whittling that overpayment down?
Correct.
Okay.
It's overpayment is. We're taking money out of the reserve account to give credit back to those folks, and then when the new cost of service analysis is done, hopefully we won't have that situation in the future.
But this program would be using reserve accounts specifically out of the wastewater fund,
It's the
right?
same, it's the same fund as what he's talking about. So if you're a non-CDS, you pay your $50 is what it is, I believe, and then you get a credit back of $22 or something like that. And so the credit back is what he's referring to. If you look at your bill, if you look at your bill, there's a charge to be part of the system, and then you get a credit back. Do you know what the numbers are off the top of your head? I know it's like $22.50 you get back. Steve, you might even know. I know that this is something that'd be a bit of a passion project for you. Okay.
You didn't pay attention to it.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a house in ALT that would qualify in terms of the cost. Yeah,
the cost.
of the house or
It's not- it's not-
income of the people that live there.
That's not, people can pay off their house and still have less income, so I mean. And what is the metric of hardship, I guess, is what we're trying to determine.
And I think the simplest is the best. You give multiple options on income as we presented. I think that's a mistake. I'd go with the LEWAP or LIWAP
Yeah.
as an initial.
Okay.
Because it makes sense. It's related to the water assistance. And then I would also suggest, because there's so much discretion involved, that some of these other criteria can be used. If there's a person is living there and their spouse dies, obviously their income's gonna go down and get slapped with a bill. That might be the kind of thing that some discretion might be available to the district to help that person out. So even though it may, last year's income doesn't fit the LIWAP, next year's might.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying that, you probably want to give yourself a little more discretion. I think you've got just about everything listed under potential accepted situations, establishing hardship
Correct.
on attachment 2. So those would be, I think attachment 2 is fine. The rest of the stuff, I think just creates more confusion.
You wanna add something, Jason?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that LIWAP and our LIRA policy and program follow the federal poverty guidelines that are published every year.
Okay.
So we update those household income requirements per the federal website.
And I think it says here that, so if they qualify for CalFresh, CalWorks,
And they are
And
following the same.
then
federal
they're all,
guidelines.
yeah, so that makes sense to follow
So
that.
if you were to apply to our LIRA program, you could show your current Medi-Cal
Yeah.
or food stamps,
And that would
whatever
be
they
enough.
tend to call it that year, whatever your food stamps or the care plans follows the same.
Okay,
So
that makes
it's just
sense.
easier to show if you're on the care plan, to show your PG&E bill, because we already know you've already submitted all the paperwork.
sure. Yeah, that makes sense. to
So
me.
we can
I-
take, I don't. What I'm hearing from Committee Member Gordon is that what we have listed for potential accepted situations, establishing hardship and utilizing the monthly LEWAP qualification requirements is what you're recommending. So
Yeah.
basically remove all the rest of the information and including that.
Yes.
I would also mention that if it were to change and we were offering other kinds of subsidy metrics, we would probably have to update the LIRA, because that wouldn't be fair. To only give one metrics for them and then multiple for this program. We'd want to keep it the same. Either way you
We
go.
can address that, Chairman Fisher, we do have an online question if you are done with the committee.
Great, thank you. Let's go to the online question.
Sherry, I believe that's directed to you.
Okay, there it is. Yeah, I have that question on attachment 2. If somebody makes, say, a single person makes $5,000 a month, and do they have to have one of those other reasons to be able to get approved for it? The above reasons? If they're over the income?
Single person makes $5,000 a month, they would not qualify based on what the LEWAP standards are. I think what.
So first you have to qualify income-wise.
The question all the way, and then maybe it'll answer your question as well. I think what Committee Member Gorence was saying was if they don't qualify for monthly income, we can utilize one of the other metrics within the list to see if there's other hardships that they're facing that they would qualify them as well. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay, and then how do you figure that out? And who figures it out? The board or the staff
Would be
that
staff.
decides? Okay, so it's all subjective, depending on what's going on.
I mean, I would say the answer
Okay.
you're looking, probably yes, but we're having parameters put in place so that it's not ultimately subjective. It's not like I could go and say, well, you're my buddy and I'm gonna give you this loan program because I like you. I'm still having to fit their loan to within these set of parameters that are being approved, recommended by the committee and approved by the board.
Okay, so if somebody has a $10,000 income and they have several things that happen, you're weighing that difference to that income, whatever issues they have, hardship issues.
You're trying to get an answer for a specific situation. I can't give you an answer to a specific situation because it's gonna be all taken on a case by case basis.
Okay, so then it's potentially somebody with a higher income could get this loan. That's what I'm asking, I guess, depending on their situation.
If they can qualify for some of the other hardships, that they can prove that they have additional hardships that would cause them to have some sort of denigration to their lifestyle, or I'm not sure if that's the right terminology, then I would say we would consider it.
With a higher income than the income at the bottom.
I'm not sure how many more times I can answer the question, the answer you're
Well, I'm
looking for.
Well, but
Potential chance. There is a potential chance somebody with a higher income with all these other hardships, if they have whatever, could qualify for this loan. I'm just asking.
I've already answered your question. I said yes.
Yes.
Okay,
So-
thank you.
Let me
That's it.
repeat my, okay, let me repeat my example. So you have somebody that say they make $10,000 a month,
Right.
husband and wife, and the husband dies, and the income was primarily provided by the husband. The wife is now left with Social Security, let's say, or whatever she has, disability benefits, and has to fix her sewer. All right? We
Right,
could take that into account, because most of the time when these things, when you're talking about income, they're operating off the prior year's income tax statements or whatever. And so going forward, that individual, that widow, does not have the funds to pay for the septic tank. That'd be the kind of person that would be eligible under
Well,
what I'm.
with the state and the federal programs, they actually take your monthly income, the current monthly income, from my experience and stuff. They don't go back to the previous tax year or whatever. It's what your current monthly income is how everything is.
So
So,
if I'm
all right,
hearing-
thank
If I'm hearing Cherie, you're asking some very detailed questions, but I think maybe the global thing you're trying to get at is, how do you tie this thing down? How do you come up
Yeah.
with metrics you can track?
Yeah.
And I think there's something to that. This is a pretty big list.
It absolutely is.
And I think it probably needs to be refined to things that you can easily track.
And so that's
Okay.
why so if there's some you want to remove, then that's what we were hoping, input from the committee. I agree with, committee member Gorence that the covered California, Medi-Cal, and the, disadvantaged community is probably superfluous, don't need it. It was just included for analysis of what, what is options. If we wanna look in this, let's look in this and see what we can pare that down to and maybe come up with less. I know we're, in the interest of time, we can kind of take them and we can take them one at a time, two at a time, and see if any of them want to be removed. Did you want to go through them real quick, Chairman Fisher?
Let me take some more, any input from the committee. Do you guys want to go through them one at a time? I think I have more, in my mind, it may be a bigger thing than we could solve in 20 minutes, and I have kind of some global maybe direction I would propose, but let's hear some other thoughts.
As I recall, there's hardship decisions made for hookups. Am I correct? Or an additional hookup on a property for an ADU?
So those are, yes, there are some, it depends on, those are case by case basis as well, and there are some qualifications for those.
And those decisions are approved by the board, is that correct?
So those are, I have the decision to approve it. Often I bring it to the board because I don't want to be, some of those are hard decisions for me as a staff person to make.
Yeah.
So, I like to bring it to the board because then, you guys represent the community as a whole.
Would that same process be relevant for this situation?
If they don't qualify, I think I would probably bring it to the board. And I would present what hardships they have. Customer X makes this amount of money, has, these hardships, would still like to qualify for this loan, you as a board, do you approve?
So what you're saying is the first qualification, they need to qualify for one of these programs.
But I would say if they qualify for in the income level, that's a easy stamp, but we can do that without taking that to the board. Now, if there's the, other accepted situations, then I would want to get further guidance from the board.
Thank you
That's a
for that.
hard,
Yeah,
that's a hard decision to be made by one person.
yeah. And I think a lot of these kind of fall into that other category. I see some that you could track, uninsured catastrophic losses, that's easy enough to prove up on. Some kind of a health condition and your physician is certifying that this is affecting your ability to pay. But some of the, death of a close family member may or may not have any bearing on, it's things like that. So I think I would try to roll, just me. I try to roll some of these more nebulous ones up into an other category.
Sure.
Keep it simple to 4 or 5 trackable categories like uninsured losses. And then have an other, if you have something else, you come explain it to the board. And
I think we spitballed, we threw a bunch of stuff at the wall and we wanted to see what you guys liked that would stick.
So
yeah,
if you qualify under income, easy.
Yep.
Anything else, subject to your approval, take to the board.
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
I just wanted to make, Chairman Fisher, you do have one more hand raised, it looks like from online.
okay. Go back to the hand online, thank you.
Sheree, go ahead.
We have our online commenter.
No, I didn't. I'm done.
All right.
Thank you. Okay, so if you guys want to make a motion that, if that's what you want to do, we can recommend to the board that it's income based, and then anything beyond that, we can pare down to a few
Trackable metrics.
trackable metrics that, and then anything else would fall under another category that would be a board recommended hardship.
Anybody want to articulate that into a motion?
I'll make a motion to that.
Was
I second it.
was that clear enough how you articulated it? Elizabeth, can you take that?
So you want me to read back what I have?
Great, yeah.
Okay.
We have it recorded in like 8 places now.
So, and again, this is rough. Member Miller motion to use, income requirements and, anything else, so I'll make that the situational language, would be put into trackable metrics and require board approval.
Very good.
Sound right? Okay.
Is that specific income requirements to LIWA?
That's
That
what
is
I wrote,
okay.
yeah.
All right,
No, it's okay, I didn't say it out loud. Okay.
I just would suggest that the language not refer to LIWAP because LIWAP is following the federal poverty guidelines. So we should just refer to their source because we all follow the same source.
the federal
Yeah,
poverty.
we will
The
definitely do that.
200% below poverty.
It's a gross income at or below 60% of the state median income level.
And they post it online every year.
Okay,
So we update that in June.
If you look next to the chart right there, it says income guidelines for the 2024 federal fiscal year, households with a CalFresh, CalWORKS or low income home energy assistance program recipient are already income qualified. So if you see where the federal fiscal year guidelines,
They all follow the same
the income
guidelines.
guidelines.
So if you qualify for one, you qualify for all.
okay. I heard a motion. I think I rudely interrupted before a second, what I wasn't supposed to do, but was there a second for that?
Yeah.
Second. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Very good. One more action item, I believe, is the schedule of the budget process for this year.
Yeah, so this is more, a bit informational, but we also are seeking the committee to recommend this to the board. It's January, unfortunately, what does that look for?
You're talking about the budget presentation?
The budget process?
Process.
Oh,
Item 6B.
It is January. This is the time that we start to analyze how we're doing on our budgeting, where we are in the process. And as usual, we wanted to bring the finance committee along for that ride. So what we're doing here is kind of laying out a timeline of where we would like to see this go. Ultimately, my goal would be to have this approved at the May board meeting. Obviously, we have the June board meeting still, if there are underlying issues. So between February, March and April would be the kind of the meat and potatoes of developing the budget, reviewing any of the things that, you know, we address or we see as potential issues or changes, and then presenting that, you know, in 3 different iterations to both, you as a committee and the board. And then, kind of resting on that May 2nd board meeting to, have a approved budget. So what we're seeking here is do you like this timeline? Do you want to include additional touch points? Do you think that this will meet with your needs as a committee, and you guys could provide the input necessary? Hoping that this is a much smoother process than last year, because we do have a solid basis this year as opposed to having to build the foundation from, previous years.
So we should be pretty close. So our draft would be March 28th. So the big ideas should be ironed out by 28th.
That's the goal. Well, actually, most of that, I would say by February 22nd, we should be really close.
Okay. And so then the question is, between April 25th to May 2nd, you would have time to revamp anything in our recommendation to get to the joint meeting by May 2nd.
Typically next day we could have it done. By April 25th, if we're making wholesale changes to the budget, then we have bigger problems, and we would definitely have to push to the June 6th meeting.
Okay. Any public or any comments from the committee?
Does the FEMA settlement timing influence next year's budget?
Should not. FEMA settlement, you have to talk about FEMA settlement.
Okay, the FEMA
Mosquito
settlement
fire.
for the mosquito fire.
Settlement.
Really?
You're saying,
Funding from FEMA for the cost related to that.
are you talking about litigation or FEMA? Because you're saying FEMA and settlement, those are two.
Okay, well, FEMA reimbursement of cost to the district.
So those are all being taken out of, CIP funding.
CIP.
So,
Okay,
the answer, it's probably basically no. It's that those reimbursements are gonna come when they come, and so we're gonna include those projects in the CIP budget. So the CIP budget is part of the budget process, but it is technically a separate process.
okay.
Any other committee comments? Any other public comments? Can I entertain a motion on the adoption of the schedule for next year's budget production?
I'll move to adopt the schedule as proposed. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And we very much look forward to another great working year with the finance committee. I very much appreciated you all and your input, actually.
Thank you. That brings us backward to item number 5, informational items, to look at the finance report.
I'll turn it over to Jessica. I know she has a short, brief presentation that she wanted to go through. Short and brief, I love the same thing. So
Well, I think we'll go over the monthly finances first,
Mhm.
if anybody has any questions. The front page that was posted had the wrong dates. It's through December 31st. So I did update that and hand them out, and the website will be updated after the meeting.
So just to clarify that, the sheet in our packet, if you're online not looking at it, right above the green and blue bar chart said October financial reports through 11/30/23. The correct date is through 12/31/23.
Correct.
Okay.
And it shouldn't say October. Should say December financial report, so
Okay. So one more change. All right.
just one more thing.
Okay.
Any specific questions on the December finance report from the committee? And if not, Jessica, you can keep going.
Okay, I think the admin fund is the one that's a little bit over 5,400 over because of, I mean, there's a lot of costs that we pay upfront, and we just have to keep that in mind. You know, we pay almost $1 million in unfunded liability in the beginning of the year. So it's always gonna be a little bit over. When I show you the budget to actual, the budget checkup where we developed a budget amendment that was passed at this last board meeting. You can see each fund, each department and where they are, and it has explanations to, you know, this says that we're at 70% through our budgeted finances, but we're only expecting one more cost to come through for that, or there are specific things that we prepay, so it'll make it look like we're getting too far close to the end of the allocated funds, but we're not expecting any more funds to come through. I know there's a couple different, or you have a couple reports. There's some fees that we pay in the spring. So we budgeted for those. We're just waiting for them to hit, for those invoices to come in. We did, however, it's not in here because this is only through December. Last week, we received our first property tax revenue check, and it's almost 200,000 more than we expected, so.
Wow.
That's good.
That's the ad valorem property tax report the district gets.
We should get another one in May.
And so we reached out to the county to see if that's aberrational or if they're going to, generally, we expect about, it's 1.95, just shy of 2 million for property taxes. So if it was going to, they typically send half and then half. And so if they're sending half and then half again, so we would have a little bit over. Now, we can't verify that. So we've still reached out to the county to verify that for future reference. But if that is the case, then, you know, good news for the district that there's a little bit more revenue coming in.
Yeah, so we budgeted 2 million in revenue, and we
was like-
should be getting, there's a lot of people that pay the entire year ahead of time.
Okay.
So it's always a little bit bigger check in January than it is in May. And then, like you noticed in September, we received about $75,000, and that was for last year. Those are people that pay monthly through the county. They have a program where you can pay monthly. You don't have to pay it all twice a year, half and half. So we get those checks at the very end, and it's also liens and things like that. When they close out their books, then they cut us a check for all the little pieces that were collected throughout the year. So I'm hopeful we'll get a big check again in May.
So at the income side, we are ahead of schedule.
We are ahead of schedule. It's just not showing on here because
Right, got it.
it will show up on January's financials.
Any other comments or questions from the committee? If not, we'll go to public comment. Any public comments on the December financials?
You have a hand raised from Cherie.
All right, let's go to Cherie online. Cherie? Is that the same hand or you got a different hand up?
That's the left hand.
It's a right hand.
I'm not hearing Cherie. Oh, there you are.
Sorry.
Do you have an additional comment on the report?
Yes, on the checks, check 35629 LSL for 25,000. I brought this up at the board meeting on the 4th. At the time, they were 38,000 over the budget amount, and now they're 62,000 over the budget amount in 6 months. And no budget amendment was done. And I was told that LSL was helping the auditors to do, to help them with the budget. But and I was told that they also helped last year's budget, but why was it not included in this year's budget? Because their amount is going to hit probably 200,000 with their monthly charges going forward. And I think a budget amendment needs to be done with this particular item. Thank you.
Did you guys get that number?
Yeah, we're aware.
You got it. Okay. Thank you, Cherie.
Not responding to it. I've asked several times why there wasn't a budget amendment.
Do we have You're familiar with it? Did you want to respond?
No.
All right.
There's a PR was,
Answer that.
there was a PRA that was submitted by the same person, and so we are addressing this issue through the PRA.
Okay, so there is a process to this question. It's not being disregarded, but it sounds like there's a process to it.
We're not that's not what I asked for in the PRA. I did not, I just asked for the information. What I'm asking for at this meeting is why is there not a budget amendment when you're over budget by $62,000? Thank you.
Any other request? We're taking it under advisement.
Thank you. I'm gonna take it for the time being that is a question in process. We can follow up on it later and see that it is answered. Moving right along. Item 7, do we have any finance committee member committee comments and reports?
Do we want to move on to the?
I have a question. What is recruitment?
Recruitment would be hiring new people.
So there's a separate budget for that?
There is now.
Is that the cost of like putting out information that are available?
Yeah, so we
Running
have to,
papers.
yeah, we have
Okay.
to advertise in various industry newsletters, various online forums, the local paper, stuff.
The process of finding, basically.
If you've never put something in the classifieds lately, it's like $600 or $700 per time.
I think Mountain Democrat is $135 a week.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty bad. And then if we use any industry sites, for example, Aqua or BC Water News, those all are a charge, and to get, to cast a net, those are what we use.
Yeah, recruitment and retention is a huge issue all over right now.
It is.
Any other committee comments or reports? I do just want to say, knowing that we're on a new format with YouTube and so forth, our purpose is a volunteer group of taxpayers that are just, and ratepayers right along with everyone else in the Georgetown Divide Public Utility District. We have domestic water payers, we have wastewater payers, we have irrigation water payers, all among this committee. It is our function to give you, the ratepayers of GDPUD, the confidence that there are folks looking over the budget, ensuring transparency, and that you're getting value for your rate. I have been very impressed since I've been on this committee for about a year and a half at the work that staff does do. They run a thrifty organization, but feel free to reach out to us. Feel free to be here at a meeting. Feel free to get online on a Zoom meeting. That's our purpose, is to be here and answer those questions to make sure that folks are satisfied that they're getting value and transparency for their rate. So I want to get that word out there that we are here for you, and for the time we spend here, we want to hear from you. So,
And I will add that staff feels the same way. So if there's ever a question, then feel free to reach out to a staff member or come into the office.
thank you. Number 8, agenda items for the next finance committee meeting. Anyone have any suggestions?
Do we have a timetable for the audit?
Actually, we did a lot better than last year.
Well, that was what.
That's not
I
saying
think,
much.
well, if I were to guess, I would say probably April, May.
No, we're done. We're just waiting for the auditor to develop his report.
Yeah, well, that took 3 months last time.
We didn't start.
No, but just to develop the report took a while, so let's hope it's soon.
Well, we just sent over the SPIDA reports, the reporting, mandated reporting, so he's looking that over, and then that was the last thing.
As soon as we receive it, it will be brought to this committee.
Mhm.
I just asked about timetable. So.
We don't know. I mean, I could say next week, but I'd be lying.
We sent them over last Tuesday, and it's been crickets. But no news is good news.
Well, I'm sure they're working diligently on what we can expect.
It typically comes March, April.
That's fine. Thank you.
I was gonna ask about the Prop 218 study. Is there a timeline on that?
So we are putting an RFP out. That will be in the next board agenda. So it is currently a legal review right now. Otherwise, I would have brought it here. It just wasn't kind of ready for prime time just yet.
Okay.
It is going to go to the board. Hopefully, we have somebody in contract. Under, there we go. That was the word I'm looking for. Under contract, by April, the first Thursday in April is my goal. The board seems to want to maybe speed that timeline along. So I will take those recommendations at the board meeting and, potentially, approve this for the March board meeting. Then we have something under contract in March. So that process is, sort of underway. Not quite there yet, but it is, the gun has been shot and we're starting to run the race.
Okay. I mean, that to me, those studies, when they come up every, 3 to 5 years, is that what they are?
Every 5 years.
They are influential documents. They chart the course for what rates are gonna be set out the next decade. Really like this committee to be at the forefront of making sure, of publicizing it, making sure people know what it is, how to read it, that they're comfortable with the process. And so if you would keep this committee right up to speed with that process, and we'll try to be a sounding board and a information disseminator for all of that.
I definitely plan to utilize your voices within the community because I value them and I know the community does. And the community doesn't know how much work you actually put into this position. So it will definitely be brought here. And one of the other things that we are working on in the process in conjunction with that is a policy for how our rates are set and how this will continue on into the future so that everyone within the community has a question, they can get an answer to that question. So yes, I will definitely have this at the next committee meeting because I believe at the next one, we should, maybe March, we should be almost selecting a firm.
Very good.
Okay.
All right. We have one public comment, Steve.
Do you remember the name of the last firm that we hired 5 years ago?
Yeah, they go by RCAC or Rural Communities Action Committee, I believe is what I'm not sure what the A stands for.
I sure hope the public gets more involved this time along, because we had a lot of people involved. I'm sure Steve was there too, and Sheree and me and everybody, but we just about got railroaded on that last bunch.
Yeah, I understand, and I'm hoping that the process is much more smooth and much more transparent, and we include public outreach. We're going to take the road show a little bit and go around the community, and unfortunately, that rate study was something that was done for free. So, I hate to use the old cliche, but you get what you pay for sometimes. And in this instance, we would like to have somebody who is going to put together a sound and quality cost of service analysis, so that it's something that people can trust. I don't want to have, we're not used car salesmen over here by any stretch. We do need to provide a service, and we do need, to raise or to charge a rate that provides that service. And we want everybody to be able to understand that.
We gotta get the public more involved. I mean, it just can't be me and Sheree, we gotta have everybody.
And Steve, I 100% agree. I would welcome the community to come and listen and hear and ask questions and to be involved in the process.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
I have one.
Sheree, go ahead.
Is there a reason why we didn't go over the 6-month budget review? It was in the packet, but it's not on the agenda, it appears.
So it was part of the financial reports that got submitted. It was left in the packet. We decided not to make a presentation because it was presented at the last board meeting.
Okay, well, you might want to look at it because some of the figures are wrong, especially in 5600 compared to the adjustments and the budget summary. I show 35 difference in admin.
It has to do with when the data was pulled from the system.
Well, they both say 1231.
Yeah, but like we explained to you previously, the last report was pulled December 22nd because the board meeting was on the 4th, and to post in time, we couldn't wait until after the holidays.
Okay, but on the presentation, you have year-to-date 12/31, not 12/22.
I think the one submitted to the board said 12/22.
Yeah, the one on the 4th, but today's packet is as of 12/31.
That's correct. I just did it last week.
Okay, so then it should match your budget summary for 12/31, and it doesn't.
Okay,
I'll have to
so
take a look at it.
review
then.
5,600. All right, noted.
I'll take a note, I'll go
Okay.
look at it.
Fair enough. Thank you. With that, we come to next meeting date and adjournment. So our next meeting date, February 22nd, that falls in line with the next date that we just approved, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So hope you join us, February 22nd. So
Before you adjourn, can I add one thing? I know I'll talk really fast. On the next, board meeting, we're gonna put a calendar out, and it's going to adjust some of the dates for the finance committee. We're gonna take a couple months off here and there, so you guys aren't, working when things are lighter. And then we'll bring that back to the committee, so you can see one of the dates is July, we'll take off in July, and then kind of, when we're not auditing or not budgeting and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yep. No, I agree. I think there's a time at the beginning of a fiscal year where the last fiscal year is truing up and some of the numbers are just kind of in flux, and we may as well come
It's
back.
8 or 9 meetings per year is what we're
Sounds
looking at.
All right. So with that, do I get a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
I have a motion second and the third. I'll fourth that motion. Everybody in favor? Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Andy, better run.
Yeah.